Half a day Tritons. Welcome to episode 15, the Hall of Fame show part 2. And boy, are we excited. And everybody knows Mr. Doug Palmer right here to my left, right? Everybody knows who this famous man is. And boy, do we have news. Mr. Palmer here will go ahead and have talk to us about a little bit about the UOG Athletic Hall of Fame, and we will be the first to release the names of the class of 2020 and 2021 on this show. And we will also talk about the UOG's new baseball coach as well. So kind of diving in back into athletic news. For our new baseball coach here at the University of Guam, we have named Rocky Alcantara Jr. as the new Triton baseball coach. You can go ahead and see that interview with him that I had on Monday during our press conference on this very YouTube channel. And we were introducing him as the skipper of the new program. Rocky has a long resume of baseball experience with many years on being on Guam, on the national team, and representing Guam in the international competition. His father is the director of the Guam Major League, and his brother had also played baseball here at the University of Guam. Rocky coaches the youth baseball on the island, including the Little League and Cal Ripken baseball. Rocky will hopefully lead the UOG to the next Guam Major League season when that league starts up and finish the current season and returns in the spring, with hopefully a team of Tritons in the league. For more news on the men's and women's basketball news, both of the leagues will hope to play in January, so definitely stay tuned for that. More so into the recreation news, the Triton volleyball has been moved to March startup as the governor's executive orders have not been loosened just yet. And now we can finally move on over here to Mr. Doug Palmer to go ahead and give us a little bit more insight about the UOG Athletic Hall of Fame. Hello, Mr. Palmer.
Hello.
So go ahead, if you could just tell us, how did you get the UOG Athletic Hall of Fame started for the Triton Athletics?
Well, it was a tough deal to try to get started. When I arrived here in 2016, there was not one single record anywhere about athletics from the past. So basically, I had to start going to reporters and other folks who knew athletics. And then I really started trying to get names. And it took a full 2 years for me to finally even get 6 names of people who really deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. So about 2018, we had the first class of 6 individuals. So we were able to get it started. And now it's getting a lot easier right now. I'm getting many more nominations every year. So it's gotten easier. I was lucky enough that I actually started 2 other Hall of Fames at 2 other institutions. So I had a pretty good feeling of how to do it. But it took 2 hard years of work to get enough names and things. And actually, one time I actually got very lucky. I was watching a soccer match, and I asked a person sitting next to me, and we started talking a little bit, and I ended up asking him, "You don't happen to know who the first UOG men's soccer coach who won 3 championships back in the '90s?" And luckily, the gentleman looked at me and said, "Yes, I played for him. It was Whippy, Coach Whippy," and we were able to get that started. So it takes a lot of luck. But I'm really glad we got it started, and we've kept it going.
So as we can see around the room, there are many athletes here who have been posted up for all of the sports they have done and their accomplishments within the years. So how does someone get voted into the Hall of Fame?
Well, first they got to get nominated. So they have to have somebody send in their name and send it to me, and then I will start doing some research on them. So again, I go to some reporters or a lot of the folks who do the TV shows and things and talk to them about it. And then, of course, it's getting easier as we get more Hall of Famers, and I can go to some of the Hall of Famers we have and ask them questions. And as of the moment to get voted in, it's basically me. I'm a one-person committee at the moment. I want to move away from that and actually form a Hall of Fame committee at some point, because I really should be the one who decides totally. But again, that will slow us down a bit. But hopefully, after this year, we'll have 5 classes in, and I'm really going to try to get a committee formed with like 5 or 6 people to start picking people after we get the nominations. I'm sure the nominations are going to still come to me, but then we'll have committees start doing it, because at some point I'm going to retire, and somebody else is going to have to do it. So if we get a committee formed, then that will make that much easier down the line.
Well, it's exactly how you said. Everything is whatever goes down the line is whatever goes down the line, and that also includes the future of this Hall of Fame. So what is the future of the Hall of Fame?
Well, I think I just actually gave away the future of the Hall of Fame, that we're going to go to a committee of probably 5 to 8 people deciding, and then the nominations may go to whoever becomes the chair of the Hall of Fame. But that will be the way that we will structure it. I do get a decent number of complaints of, how do people get nominated? How do people get picked? And if they come ask me, I will. But I've had people send in letters to the newspaper saying, there's people here that are better deserving than some of the folks who got in. Well, there was one guy who sent in, and I asked the guy, come in and meet with me. Never would. Send me a list of names. I'll check them out. Never did. But he will write a letter to the paper saying, other people deserve it, but he won't give me any names of it. So those are the ones that are actually hurting the other folks about getting in. But the future of it is going to be more of a committee and other people picking, and we'll get a diverse group in to do that.
Okay, well, you heard it there, folks. The future is coming. So let's say I know someone who has already graduated almost 5 years ago, and they were also an athlete here at the University of Guam. How can I, what is the word? How can I send in my new nomination for next year's class?
Well, just do an email, or heck, you can even come in to see me. I had one gentleman come in at one time. He was actually angry. He didn't like all the baseball folks that had been put in, but he actually came in and we had an hour conversation, and then he ended up giving me names, and I looked into some of them, and some of them are now in the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. So if you stop by personally, and we'll have a chat, and if you give me a name, then I will take that name and go with it. It's better if I can get a name and some facts. They played baseball here in the 1970s. Mm-hmm. And they played with Pat Wolf or Dave Nelson or some of the folks that are in the Hall of Fame. Or they played football. In the 1990s, that's actually going to be one of the things I'm going to start looking at. Is we actually had an undefeated football team in the 1990s that no one talks about. Mm-hmm. But we actually had one of the former players is one of our librarians, and he sent me 25, 30 articles about the football played by UOG in the 1990s. So I'm going to start doing research on that. But I also find people as well. That's why some of the people that we're putting in, I actually went to find them. I wanted to find the president that started athletics here, so I found that person. So I like to find some people as well. And like I already have probably 2 or 3 names I know for the next class. But we will probably have 5 to 7 people in it, so I'll hopefully still need more nominations.
Okay. Well, as I was walking earlier, I was hearing some rumors about a team Hall of Fame. And what is that about? Can I give us a little bit insight about that?
Yeah, we are going in the springtime. In the fall right now, we're just always done individuals, but we need to start a team Hall of Fame. And it's going to be part of the regular Hall of Fame, but we will have a section for teams. And the first team that's going to go in is the 1977 undefeated a team that went 10-0 that John Borden and many of the other Hall of Famers are from. And then after that, we'll probably go with like an undefeated basketball team. So same thing, people can nominate teams, but I already have a list of really exceptional teams, but we're going to do it in the spring because, especially for football, there's going to be 40, 45 guys who played on that team. And I'm going to lay a bet 20 of them are still on the island. And that would be an overwhelming event that we couldn't have other stuff going on. So we're going to have a team Hall of Fame, but it's going to be part of the main Hall of Fame. So you may see in this room more team stuff about the undefeated football team, things like that. But we're going to try to do that in the spring every year. So we'll have a fall individual Hall of Fame, and we'll have a spring team Hall of Fame. And we may have more than one team sometimes. We have 2 basketball teams. Chances are there's not going to be more than 10 people on the island that's probably still here with those teams. So we may do, especially basketball or some other teams like baseball, that could have 25 people and 15 of them still be on the island. But that's the next part that we want to do. Before I said, retire here, I want to get the team side going as well.
Okay, well, you heard all of that information, folks. If you have any insight as to who you know was a part of the athletics here at the University of Guam, go ahead and contact Mr. Palmer, and he will go ahead and figure it out from there. So now it is time to unveil the classes of 2020 and 2021. I will announce the name and read a short description, and then Mr. Palmer will go ahead and follow with a comment of each one. Alrighty, Mr. Palmer, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Alrighty, so first, starting off with the class of 2020, Antonio C. Yamashita, Administrator, former president of the College of Guam and the University of Guam, was the president to start the varsity athletics at the College of Guam and the University of Guam back in 1962 to 1963.
This is the man who got athletics started. He was actually the president for the Territorial College of Guam, with the University of Guam started out as, then became College of Guam president, and that's actually when he started athletics. So this was the College of Guam, and then it moved on to the University of Guam. And I really got to give credit to his daughter, Velma, who actually did a lot of research for his information. And while she was doing that research, there are 2 other Hall of Famers that are going in this year that she found information for that allowed me to put them in the Hall of Fame, because I had no idea they even existed. So I really have to thank the whole Yamashita family, basically, of getting other people in the Hall of Fame.
Rob Call, head football coach, led the UOG Tritons to 2 island championships in 1975 with a record of 9-1, and in 1977 with a record of 10-0.
Well, this will be the team that his 1977 undefeated team will be the one that we'll be putting in the Team Hall of Fame. But the biggest issue we've had with Rob is we cannot find him or any of his family. Somebody sent me a telephone number that was supposedly his sister's number, and I called it 10 times and never got an answer. But hopefully that we will make contact with somebody after this is in the paper and be able to get them their trophy, whatever.
Art Merlin, football player, led the UOG Tritons to the 1975 championship as the quarterback of the team, as well as a former AD for UOG and a noted boxer who represented Guam in the South Pacific Games.
Well, this is definitely one of our Hall of Famers you probably don't want to mess with, who's a boxer. He's now living somewhere on the Florida Gulf Coast. Haven't been able to get in contact with him. I've left some messages on his phone, or what was supposedly his phone. But we'll still be doing some more tracking down of Art and hopefully find him to be able to send him his trophy somewhere down the line.
Swingley Dismas, recreation, kept the athletic alive at the UOG during the years that the Tritons did not have varsity athletics, but Swingley ran intramurals, club teams, and other athletic events at the university.
Well, Swingley is a longtime employee here at the University of Guam Fieldhouse. He's been here almost 20 years now, and mostly during this period of time here, UOG didn't have varsity athletics, but he was the one who kept everything going through intramurals, President's Cup, club teams. So he kind of kept the athletic spirit going, and he's certainly really deserving of being in the Hall of Fame, even though he's not really been an athlete. He's kind of kept the athletic spirit going here.
Cecile C. Olandez, women's basketball, played basketball for the Lady Tritons, as well representing Guam for the national women's basketball team, as well as several masters teams, and is now currently the women's basketball coach for the University of Guam.
Well, Cecile is part of the same group of basketball players that's produced Susie Borden, Susan Lapillo, and some of the other folks. I actually have one picture that has 4 other women Hall of Famers with Cecile in it. But she's from that same group of folks, and she really deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. She's kept the Masters leagues going. She's actually coached everywhere from junior high up, and she's played on several national teams. So she's really deserving of the award, and I'm very glad we have her as the UOG basketball coach. Hopefully we can get them playing games again.
Richard Martinez, baseball. The son of Slam is his well-earned nickname, who played baseball for UOG and was considered the best power hitter on Guam during his time. He hit the Grand Slam home run that led UOG to a Guam Major League Championship in 1983.
I actually just read the article about his Grand Slam home run in the bottom of the top of the last inning that took from being one run down to 4 runs up. I actually just talked to him today, first time. The good story is his son actually was the National Guard person who was in the building. He's probably been in the building many times, but never knew it was his son. But once we hired our new baseball coach, Roki, who I got told was good friends with Richard's son, I talked to Roki, I got a number, and I called his father, Richard Martinez, today, and he's so happy I did. He's going to be here Saturday to go into the Hall of Fame.
Rick Menebussen, baseball, pitcher for the Tritons from 1973 to 1978. Picked to play the Guam Major League All-Star team against a Japanese team. He also played for the UOG football team in 1973 to 1974.
Rick's a really good guy. He actually probably called me so many times to make sure he was going to get into the Hall of Fame, and he knew he'd been nominated. So he was so happy when I finally gave him a call. Yes, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. But he's a really good guy. He's a very good supporter of UOG athletics.
Now moving on to the class of 2021. Bruce A. Hines, administrator and men's basketball coach, the first person to have the title of athletic director for UOG, as well as the first men's basketball coach back in 1963. He was also the director of the physical education as well.
Well, based on he's the first athletic director, first men's basketball coach, and this is one that Velma got us the information from the coral reefs they used to produce back in the 60s. So I was able to read about him, figure out, hey, yes, you really deserve to be in it. Don't have a whole lot of information. Don't know if he's still alive, is any family on the island, but hopefully once somebody reads this, hopefully somebody will contact us about how to get in touch with him. But he was most certainly one of the pioneers of UOG athletics way back in the early 1960s.
Terry L. Stotts, men's basketball. Former head basketball coach of the Portland Trail Blazers in the NBA, but played basketball for the UOG Tritons as a 16-year-old who led UOG to the Guam Basketball League Championship, as well as winning the MVP award.
Well, this is another one of those I had a question. Somebody questioned me, how does Terry Stotts get in the UOG Hall of Fame? Well, he was a UOG player at 16 years old. His father, Frank Stotts, was actually on the wall right over here. Let him play. That was back in the time that UOG, you didn't have to be a student at UOG to represent UOG. So as a 16-year-old, Coach Stotts put his son in on the team. They won the league. They were undefeated, and Terry was the most valuable player in the league. So yes, he's very deserving of being in the UOG Hall of Fame without any of the other professional things that he's done. But for UOG, he definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame here.
Robert Borden, men's volleyball, scholarship volleyball player for UOG during the one season of scholarships. He was the captain of the Guam national team and played in several international competitions representing Guam.
Well, Robert's got really good genes. He is the son of both Susie and John Borden, who were both in the Hall of Fame. One of the things I was really trying to do is to find other sports besides football, basketball, baseball, to have people put in the Hall of Fame. And he was a men's volleyball player. For 1 year, they got a sponsor, then they could get scholarships. And that 1 year, he is somebody who got a scholarship to represent UOG. And then he has a really good international and national team representative. So he definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. So now we have 3 Bordens in it. I don't think the guy who plays the radio, the other Borden's son, is going to make the Hall of Fame for us, but we now have 3 Bordens in the Hall of Fame.
V. Benny Diaz, football, defensive back for UOG that was a 2-time All-Guam player for the Triton and was one of the 1975 championship team.
Benny was kind of a hard one to find as well, but we finally found him, and he is now teaching in California. He will have his brother here to speak for him on Saturday, but he's a 2-time all-defensive player on the island, and he played during one of the championship years. So, again, he's a very deserving Hall of Famer.
Ugel Sehewas, baseball. Part of the Palau connection, right-handed pitcher for the Tritons and played first base as well. Played on 2 UOG championship teams in the 1970s and the 1980s.
Good job on his name. I'm scared of his name too. But he is part of the Palau connection. We have 2 Hall of Famers that are part of the Palau connection, where they used to recruit several baseball players from Palau. And also, he's actually a senator on Palau right now. So, again, he's part of the baseball connection that led to several UOG championships, and is one of those guys who deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Vic April, baseball. Part of the Palau connection, fast center field and lead-off hitter who was also a noted base stealer. Played for 2 UOG championship teams in the 1970s and in the 1980s.
Well, this is the second person I actually just talked to today to let him know that he's going to be put in the Hall of Fame. Actually, Richard Martinez had his number, so once I was contact him, I could then contact Vic April, and Vic's going to be here Saturday to receive his award. And same thing, he's part of the Palau connection that helped UOG go to 2 championships in the late 70s, early 80s.
Norieka Leka, recreation, one of the best recreation players in intramurals, club teams, and President Cup competitions. Was on 2 club basketball teams that finished second in 2 Triton college leagues.
This guy was a character. I really give him credit. My best memory of him was the Triton Club men's basketball team was waiting to, the clock was down to like 10 seconds left. They were going to have to forfeit the game because they only had 4 players. Then when the clock hit about 3 seconds, the door opened, and he came flying, literally flying through the door. And he beat the clock by 1 second. So as he flew through the door, the buzzer went off. That would have forfeited the game. But they got to play the game, and their team was able to go into that tournament and finish second. But that's my best memory of him, of diving through a door to make sure they didn't have to forfeit.
Gage Johnson, men's basketball. First UOG player ever to score 40 points in a game and average 21 points per game in 1968 for a Triton team that finished 4th in a Guam basketball league.
Well, this is another one that Velma was able to give us information on, because that's where I found in the coral reef that stated he's the first UOG basketball player to score 40 points. And in the one league that we know he played in, he averaged 21 points a game. And 21 back in the 60s was actually a pretty good number. So we were able to put him in the Hall of Fame. But he's also someone that we have no information on about anything else. And hopefully when this article gets printed in the paper, somebody will come by and say, hey, I knew him, or I'm his cousin, or heck, it could be him. So hopefully we'll hear from somebody that we can forward this on to his family or to him, hopefully.
Alrighty, and that was a wrap for all of the names that will be unveiled at for the classes of 2020 and 2021. Remember, you can watch the Hall of Fame events on this channel on Saturday morning. The events will start at 10 a.m. and continue to about 1 p.m. with 3 different events going on. You can come by next week and see the new mural here in the Hall of Fame room, as well as the updated Wall of Fame in the lobby of the UOG Calvo Fieldhouse. I know I had mentioned the mural, but I gotta keep that a secret, and you gotta stay tuned until Saturday morning. And we will see you right here next week on the Triton Athletics and Fieldhouse Video Podcast. Alrighty, Mr. Palmer, you know the drill, and I think we have a little twist for tonight. And boy, are me and Mr. Palmer gonna play ping pong later on. Alrighty, Mr. Palmer, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Viva UOG!
Go Triton!